I was in a relationship for 6 years. The last night I was hiding underneath a vehicle in the parking lot just to try to get away. 4 years ago, middle of the night, I get a call. I Googled the number and I saw this woman's last name that shared his. And she goes, "I've been living your nightmare for over 20 years. He's kidnapped our son and I need your help." I decided to start my nonprofit. So then we morphed over about 3 years ago with this fentanyl crisis. Fentanyl is 50 times more powerful than heroin and 100 times more powerful than morphine. 109,000 overdose deaths last year, 87% are fentanyl related. You can't prosecute your way out of this problem or enforce your way out of it. You have to educate your way through. Repeated failure will give you the biggest success and then your self-esteem. But so many people don't want to go there, not realizing once you conquer your fear. Victim advocacy is a thankless job. And when I was 21 years old, I had a victim advocate on my behalf. And it was something that I will never forget. And one day said,
before you go, what is a victim advocate? Are you talking about a crime and then somebody? Okay.
So it could look like many different things on many different topics.
Okay.
But this was with the sheriff's department, and he came out, and it was the domestic violence team. I was in a relationship for 6 years, and the last night I was hiding underneath a vehicle in the parking lot just to try to get away. And I never had to go to court because the victim advocate worked on my behalf, gave my statement. I thought to myself, this is something I want to do later in life. I was 21. I went back to college and kind of moved to San Diego and, began that.
Did you go to college for a degree that would be related to that field?
I did. I ended up getting in more of the counseling and crisis responding.
That's exactly in that field.
It is. That's really where this role came from of after working 10 years with being a crisis responder. I just thought, we need to get to these kids specifically before life-altering decisions are made. So a few years before that, I was involved in a rollover crash. And
to back up, is it okay if I ask a couple questions?
Absolutely.
About that
Yeah.
I assume it got physical.
Yes.
Looking back after you got out of it, could you see that things were progressing towards
100%.
physical? How long into the relationship did that start, and what did you see that maybe other women might not know that they need to be paying attention to, as far as signs that, whoa, this is going to turn into an abusive relationship?
Yeah. So there's definitely a pattern when it comes to domestic violence. It's called the wheel of trauma, the wheel of domestic violence. And there's behavioral traits that will start. It's, walking on eggshells around him. You don't want to upset him or her, and then the blow up happens and this love that you've never experienced happens. And then it goes right back into this time of trepidation, like you don't want to step on anybody's toes. So it just keeps going into this cycle.
A blow up and then euphoric love.
Oh, and yes. And so that's what you hang on to.
Mm.
When I went through many years of counseling and the workshops with Weave, the county programs we have here to support domestic violence survivors are incredible. But that was understanding that it's a cycle and understanding that I kept saying it was Jekyll and Hyde. I didn't fall in love with Jekyll.
Or whichever the bad
one is.
I know what you're saying.
I fell in love with the man. I was 15 years old and done at 21. So you had this so much trust that it could be better. It does go through the emotional. This did. I'm not categorizing all events like this, but it does go through emotional, and then the mental games start, and then it goes against what I experienced was physical items that were mine, which is textbook, and then physical items, period, and then the abuse gets turned on you. Like
what do you mean?
holes.
Like breaking things.
Breaking things.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, so that's a good So if a dude's breaking things, get the hell out.
Yeah.
Which is fair.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty violent act to break things.
That is a beginning act that is usually done. It's just enough to cause, you're scared pretty much. It cause you to be frightened. And that's exactly what they want. It's all about power and control.
Yeah.
But then it turned into holes in the walls and yeah.
Okay. And did you always, like, I hear that women feel like it's their fault.
Oh,
did you experience
what
that?
did I do? And that's where the walking on eggshells comes into play. And then the physical abuse then starts right after. But I have heard that 70% of women stay in a domestic violence. So I had to put a lot of internal work into not being one of those statistics.
Yeah. Why do you think they stay?
It could be anything from emotional security, financial security. They have children. There's so many different things.
Yeah. What was the earliest red flag you can see?
Mental games were huge.
Like making you feel like you did something wrong? Or...
everything from if I can't have you, no one can, or I'm just going to kill myself if you break up. And, yeah.
Okay.
But I will say there's a lot of full circles in my story that come back around. And 4 years ago, I got a call. Now, this was when I was 21 when I left, and I never saw him again with the restraining order in place and everything. 4 years ago, middle of the night, I get a call. Didn't know the number, of course, flipped it. And naturally, I Googled the number, and I saw this woman's last name that shared his.
Oh, wow.
And I literally prayed about it. I'm like, what in the world? It's been 24 years. And the next morning I said, I'm in conference today, but I'm available by text. And she goes, did I reach the right person? And I said, yes, you did. And then she says my name. And I said, yes, what do you need? And she goes, I've been living your nightmare for over 20 years. Oh. He's kidnapped our son, and I need your help.
And so at this point, you'd had 10 years crisis response experience. You had a degree on psychology and stuff. Well, how did you handle that?
And I was also 1 month married with 4 bonus kids, 3 bonus grandkids, my own child, 1 month. And I'm like, so I contacted my girlfriend who's an attorney and said, what is my moral obligation here? And she goes, the prosecutor probably asked her to do that because a character reference, even if it's 20 plus years, does help a case, but you're under no obligation to. And I just went back to that and I texted her and I said, it took me many years to heal and I'm sorry. And she goes, well, it's taken me 20 years, but I've lived your hell and I believe you. Here's his license. Here's his area. I totally understand. You know, it brought closure in a way that I can't even explain, you know? And, of course, I've stalked her several times, and it looks like she's thriving, so...
Yay. That's awesome.
I know.
So she got out of it.
She did get out of it.
Oh, my gosh.
She got out of it, and maybe one day we will meet. Who knows? That's neither here nor there, but it's like, she did it.
It's got to be so scary, breaking out of whatever mental spell you're under, and then also confronting fear. Like, gosh, okay, he's already broken things. He's already hurted me. Is he gonna kill me? Like, that's just got to be scary. So I'm glad you got out. I'm glad she got out.
And the funny thing is, and I don't know how many people actually talk about these kind of things because they're so far from who we are today. I would never be in a situation like that today.
So there's almost a little embarrassment.
Embarrassment, yeah. How could I have chose to stay? How could I put myself in? There's so many things. So it's just best not to say anything without realizing, hey, if I can help one person, if they know that she can get through it, so can I.
And then hope.
Hope.
I'm very curious. Once you got out of that, did you see residual impacts to your future relationships? Like, did you find yourself afraid more easily, or did you not want to date people after? How do you think that relationship affected your dating life, or did it?
It didn't affect my dating life so much, but I internally became a runner. As soon as I got a red flag, I'm out. Peace out.
I like that, though.
Oh,
right?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
red flag or green flag, because because, and here where the mind games happened, was this utopia of love. And at the beginning, it's sprinkled in with red flags. So I looked at it like, this is too good to be true. What's going to happen in 3 months? So I got into this cycle of, it can't be too good to be true. It can't be red flags. I'll just put up with the surface, superficial. It ain't going anywhere. I don't want anything from it. And that's not healthy either. Because instead of dealing with these things and understanding them, I just left it on the surface, or just mentally ran away. Nope, we're in.
Mm-hmm. That could be lonely.
It could. Yeah, so I had to do a lot of internal work, and I read a lot and went to meetings a lot, because in my mind, how could I allow myself to be like this? How could I allow someone to do this? So that shame and that guilt.
And the meetings help with that?
They did.
Are they anonymous, like AA meetings?
They are.
How do people find them?
I went to Sacramento County, has a Weave, Women Escaping a Violent Environment.
Okay. There's a whole program.
There's a whole program.
Okay.
Yeah, and they'll walk you through, they'll give you and provide you counseling. Each place is different, I'd imagine, but that's what I did. And I didn't immediately go into the crisis responding. I went into what I knew in college, which was mortgage lending.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Weren't we all mortgage lenders at one time?
Right.
Yes. So I actually
Especially
did.
early 2000s.
I know. Hey, yeah, we'll take those couple points.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I did that for 10 years and loved it. But then I just had this drawl of, let's get back to the roots of what I really love to do. And with my entire family is a service-oriented family. My parents, I grew up with them. They were law enforcement chaplains for 30 years, you know, being a part of somebody's worst time of their life, and helping them through it. It really inspired me.
Huh.
My family, my uncle's a Vietnam vet, my aunt's an international chaplain. Like, there's all these different dynamics of how I was raised.
And they're all serving. So that's where that culture you were telling about comes of, hey, it's not about you. It's about serving others, to the point where you aren't even comfortable talking about anything you've been through. You don't know. Wow.
Yeah. So I did the mortgage thing, and I knew it was my time to get out when the market was crashing.
I like logical.
Logical.
Ride the wave till it crashes.
2008. I had been married at that time, and we were going through fertility treatments. I could not get pregnant for 5 years. And the doctor said, you're going to have to do in vitro for you to get pregnant. And I had always wanted, 5 kids, this huge family. And 2008 is when I was able to go through in vitro and have our child. And so that was just an incredible journey in itself, with going through, month after month. There's so many women that struggle with getting pregnant and starting families. And I live by my date book. I live by my goals and my dreams. And, a goal without a date is just a dream. So I said 5 years. We were married 5 years to the day, and I started treatment.
Wow.
And
That's
then
almost manifesting.
Oh, yeah.
Type of stuff.
I live by it. It's like, those are great goals in life. What do you want the date to be to have it accomplished?
It's scary. It makes it super real.
It makes it real.
Deal.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I got to put a plan together.
Right.
And whatever it is.
I need steps. I need a plan, strategic. So that was lovely. And then that's when I had the car accident. Was it a few years later? After
you had your daughters?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
What happened?
Driving down Truxell and I-5, I-80.
It was on the freeway?
Freeway.
Oh, boy.
And I got hit and rolled my car going about 70. And I walked away from it. Thank goodness. And a month later, I went blind in my left eye.
Did you feel an injury at that time to your eye?
I went through a concussion. I sustained quite a bit of injuries. And as a competitive shooter, on my way to the hospital, I don't reach out to my parents. I don't reach out to my family. It's my firearms instructor. Is if I can't see out of one eye, am I done shooting? She responds in her way, which eye? My left one. No, you close that one anyway.
Perfect.
Game on. All right, I got a game plan. It's like, well, okay, what's that next step? Okay, need to know what my boundaries are. That was terrifying.
Did you wake up and the vision was gone, or did it happen like as you're using your eyes? Do you remember?
I was sitting there, and it's
Do you remember?
Do you remember? Yes, I do, actually. Yeah. It's called when the veil drops. That is actually a term that the doctors kept using. The veil dropped.
The curtain almost.
It was. It was a curtain, and my eye filled up with so much blood. The optic nerve shot. I still can't see out of it today. Thank goodness I still track.
Really?
Yeah.
You have no vision out of your left eye?
None.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, my husband has to walk on my left-hand side because it's, I'm running into walls. But, yeah, so that was another part of the story. And it's something that a motto that I look at is, what good is this?
God. I'm sorry, that inspires me. I think you can find good in horrific situations, and I think that really helps people to do so. What good came from that?
The good that came from that was I received quite a bit of money for my injuries. And although my attorneys and doctors advised me to get all the surgeries needed that it was going to cover, I decided to start my nonprofit because what my heart's dream was to reach youth in prevention that affected my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's good that came from it. What is it, and what do you do specifically?
What is it?
Arrive Alive.
Arrive Alive California.
Okay.
It's actually morphed into not just being one prevention program for youth, which was impaired driving. And I did that for many, many years.
So trying to show young people, hey, here is what can happen if you drive buzzed or drunk or whatever.
Right.
So you would go to the schools and be the people that show the accident pictures and all that.
Right, but we don't use scare tactics. We are very reality-based. So instead of doing something like red asphalt, like we grew up on, what I did is I befriended several judges in the Sacramento County area and district attorneys and said, I've got a great idea. Let's bring an actual sentencing of a first-time DUI offender inside the schools. Let's have an opportunity for the kids to have dialogue with the judge and the DA and the defendant, asking them questions. And that took off like wildfire.
Wow.
As of like 6 months ago, the Judicial Courts of California has listed us as the exclusive organization offering it statewide.
That's amazing. How do you scale it?
After blood, sweat, and tears for how many years of doing that? You're like, and so then we morphed over about 3 years ago with this fentanyl crisis. Again, working with the district attorney's office. They're literally my right-hand partner. They're seeing all the numbers with the coroner's office. They're seeing where the crisis is at. And then I'm the one that comes in with the community programs to deliver. Where's the crisis? Where are we seeing it? And when we got together with Department of Health Services and realized there's over 3 times as many fentanyl deaths than gun-related homicides because of fentanyl. What? So then it expanded, and then I just wrote my 3rd program, which is called Mental Mastery. And I'm extremely passionate about that.
Is that one live yet?
It is live next month. The Youth Council of California voted me to come in to the big conference, October 19th. So that's when it's...
And what is it? Mental health awareness?
Mental health, yes and no. It's a part of it. But it's also about being resilient. And I think
that is so not being taught these days.
I think
very important.
This generation's been lied to. And it's heartbreaking because there is no resiliency. There was a study done in late 70s that said success equals self-esteem. Therefore, what did we experience? Participation trophy generation. What they should have done is dive deeper into what creates success. Repeated failure will give you the biggest success and then your self-esteem. But so many people don't want to go there. They don't want, there's that fear of failure, fear of embarrassment, fear of accomplishing something. And not realizing once you conquer your fear, that is when success comes. That is when self-esteem comes. And then it's shifting your mind. Your mind is a superpower computer. It does what you tell it to do. It focuses on what you tell it to focus on. So I guarantee you, if everything in your life is going wrong, you're focusing on everything in your life that is going wrong.
Yeah.
If you shift your perspective and go, this is amazing. I wake up in the morning right off the bat before my feet hit the floor is, what are 3 things am I grateful for?
How long did it take for that to become a habit that was ingrained? That's something I'm currently practicing. Half the time I don't remember.
Yeah.
And then the other time I'm like, I don't even know if I believe this, but
some days it is. Thankful that I woke up. You know, I mean, that's all I got today.
Okay. That's awesome. Yeah. You're still doing it.
You're still practicing the
so you
art
wake up
of
and think about it. How long since did that take to where you wake up and think about what are things I'm grateful for?
That's been a life practice, but I would say probably within the last 6 years. Yeah, it's just something that right off the bat, you know.
What do you think that does for the rest of your day?
I think it sets you up for success. Because if you're training your brain to focus on things that you can be grateful for, you will start looking out for more opportunities to be grateful. Mm-hmm. So you're already starting your day off on a high note. And I'm not a big positive thinker person. Yeah, there's an element to this. I'm a realist. But I am also not an exaggerator that my life is so horrible. Yeah, I had a bad day. But what good about today? You've got to be able to pull out something.
So you're doing it in the evening too. You work back for highlights of the day.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. That's the practice that I've learned. There's 3 things you're grateful for, 3 things that would make today great. And then at the end of the day, look back for 3 highlights of the day and then 3 things you can learn. I don't know why it's in 3s, but
It works, right? I know. I like that. I like the 2 that you just brought to light. And I think when you start having this type of mental shift, then it becomes a part of your identity. I had a little girl come up to me, and she was about 4 years old, and she looks at me and she goes, "Are you always this happy?" Mm. And I go, "Yes, I choose to be this happy."
That's awesome.
And she's like, "Are your parents this happy?" I mean, she couldn't wrap her brain around this sweet little child, and it made me laugh. And it's like, you know, happiness is a fleeting feeling, but it's the joy that you have. That is internal work.
Good.
Those are the relationships you surround yourself with.
And do you think like attracts like? So if you're feeling good, negative people or energy is not going to be attracted to you, and the like is the positive and all that?
Yes and no. Those negative people like to try to drain you.
Oh.
They're the ones that the energy suckers.
Mm-hmm.
Because it makes them feel good just to be in that presence, and vice versa. But I truly believe that we do not have a good or bad life. I believe that we have a life, and it is our choice to make it good or bad.
Even if that's a perspective.
It is.
Thing.
It very well could be, and it very well could be, I've had trauma, I've had grief, heartache, some of the things that are unbearable at times. And I'm not saying that my story's the worst. But what I choose to do with those experiences, what I choose to think about, that is what can turn it to good. I work with so many grieving family members, bereaved family members, and it's their choice to share their story, to take their pain and turn it into purpose for prevention for other youth. That inspires me so much that they don't just sit there. They're trying to do something with it. And what I always tell them is, your children's legacy lives on through you. And that legacy is saving lives. It's not a bad life. It's a good life with what they choose to use it for.
So I'm curious on the fentanyl thing. So when I was younger, I hurt my ankle upside down, dislocated, and they gave me a bottle of like 150 Vicodin. Mm-hmm. And that didn't end well. It took me a few years to like get that out and under control. Is that what's happening with the fentanyl crisis now? Are people starting in the medical field? Or are they just going straight to the streets and specifically asking for fentanyl? Or is it all an accident? Like they think they're taking something else? What do you think the biggest death problem is with fentanyl?
That is a great question, and one that is asked many times at our community town hall meetings or assemblies with kids. And I like to say there's two sides to this coin and why this issue has been exacerbated so badly. And there are people that are out there looking for fentanyl. Fentanyl is 50 times more powerful than heroin and 100 times more powerful than morphine. It's very inexpensive to make, and it's very easy to get your hands on. There's the other side of the coin that people are being poisoned by fentanyl. They have no intention to take it whatsoever, but they're dying from it. And what I call the perfect storm is around 2020, we had the major lockdowns.
Yeah.
It was right around that time that the opioid crisis really started to take off. We have physicians that could be held liable for opioid disorders. If they're prescribing too much, they're on a regulator, if you will. So now we have this market that opened up with counterfeit prescription medications. Doctors aren't prescribing to the ones that do need it. So they're turning to these counterfeit prescription medications. In their mind, they think it's real.
Where are they getting it?
Online.
Oh.
Online.
Oh, so like the online pharmacy thing.
Online.
Those are counterfeit. Of course they are. Well, they're not, you can't just go buy it. Okay, it's online.
No, you
and
can't.
that's where the fentanyl is.
So what the drug cartels have done is they have bought the presses, the actual pill presses, Adderall, Vicodin, Percocet, Oxycontin. I mean, we can go down the list of...
I did not know this. So the online pharmacy thing is a huge problem. I had never heard that. Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay, don't buy pills online.
Do not buy pills online.
And so they're pressed to look exactly like the real thing. And the active ingredient is fentanyl?
Yes, there's no medication. No. There's no medication. So I think the media completely gets it wrong. Every time I hear it, it just sends shivers up my spine. But they always say fentanyl-laced Vicodin, correct?
Yeah.
Fentanyl-laced
everything.
It's not fentanyl-laced. There's no medication in these pills.
It's just fentanyl.
It's fentanyl and filler. And they're hoping they mix just the right of fentanyl to get you hooked for life. They don't want to kill off their customers, but at the end of the day, it's a multi-billion-dollar business. And the ones that have already made it have already been paid. It doesn't get to the streets until about 7 hands down.
By the time you get something that you ordered online, it's already gone through tons of hands. Mm-hmm. That's so scary.
And work with the crime lab here in Sacramento County, and the scientists have said repeatedly, Angela, these pills are so good, we cannot even tell if they're real or fake. We have to test to see if they're real for prosecute. That's how good they are. It's not like, oh yeah, I can tell if it's fake or not.
Where are these pharmacies located? I've heard that, like, I mean, I've just stuff I've heard, but China is sending in the precursors to make fentanyl to Mexico. They assemble it in Mexico, and it comes up through the borders with using the cartel.
Correct.
Are the pharmacies that people are ordering, are they located in Mexico?
There are. LA Times released a story last year that they went in with UCLA and their investigative reporter and their actual pharmacies in Mexico. There were 5 different ports. It was right around spring break time. That's why they released the story. But they went in, they purchased the medication and tested them, and all of them tested for fentanyl or methamphetamine.
Wow.
From a Mexican pharmacy.
Okay.
How the mule runs, if you will, is they will try to get these drugs on our streets however they can in our country, land, air, and sea transportation. There's a complete network of how did they get them in to our country.
Okay. Dang.
And then the scary thing is it doesn't have to even be a quote-unquote pharmacy. You're having people sell them on Snapchat. They have menus of what would you like to purchase. I was on the Dr. Phil show, and one of the guests said, I was prescribed Oxycontin And my doctor dropped the dosage. Now, if we can wrap our brains around, these are just not those that have substance use disorders. These are people that are being deceived to death. And she went online and she's like, oh, I can get it in my regular dose. There was fentanyl. And before she knew it, she was buying another bulk supply. Well, I'm going to bump it up a little bit more. She had to go in and she's like, I need treatment to get off these pills. And they tested her and it was straight fentanyl. She's like, no. And she had no idea. She bought it online.
Are you ever concerned that the work you're doing is going to piss off like the cartels or the wrong people? You ever think about that?
I'd consider it an honor. No, because I know the work we're doing is good. I survey these kids. I survey the parents, fully anonymous. You know, rate us, tell us how we did. Could you offer some suggestions? The whole nine. And when I have kids writing in, and when I have parents writing in and said, my child came home from your assembly today, and he said that he was doing drugs. He's now in treatment, and he didn't want to die. He's now in treatment and doing well. Teachers saying the same things. This is what keeps me going.
Just one would make that whole thing worth it, wouldn't it? Like one life impacted or saved.
Yeah.
That's so cool. So then they're putting fentanyl and stuff, like say kids want MDMA or ecstasy or whatever, that could have fentanyl in it too?
Fentanyl, and I continue to educate myself on this epidemic we're having because everything continues to change. So 3 years ago, the DEA put out that 4 in 10 pills you buy on the street or unauthorized from your doctor have a lethal dose of fentanyl. Last year, it was 6 out of 10. As of the beginning of this year, it's 7 out of 10. So if you put 10 pills out there and 7 are going to kill you, and 3, they're just filled with baby powder and cornstarch. But the scary thing is we're seeing this drug landscape completely change because of fentanyl. So what we have is fentanyl being mixed in all of the different drug categories.
Right.
Because of the potency, you don't have to use as much product.
Boy. Then an example of the different category that someone might not know would have fentanyl would be like?
It could be methamphetamine, cocaine, heroin. Sacramento County Sheriff did a drug bust and they were soaking marijuana in fentanyl.
I was going to ask about that. So it's, okay, street weed, no-go these days too.
Vapes we're hearing, yeah.
Oh, vapes, I could see.
Vapes, and it hasn't hit here locally, but just a few months ago, West Virginia, at a CBD store, packaged legit gummies contained fentanyl.
CBD gummies? Oh, man. So that's really scary where this is going.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I'm glad that you're doing this. And I hope other people are as well.
Yeah. And that's the more we know about the situation, the more we need to share and let people know. They just don't. And I think, 110,000, 109,000 overdose deaths last year, 87% were fentanyl related. And my question is 109,000 overdose deaths last year. And my thing is, how many were overdosed, intentionally taking a product, or poisoned? And they had no intention. When you're having 22 youth die every week, over 300 people every day, it's out of control. Yes. But I think we're so desensitized because we hear about it all the time. We don't understand what it really means. So we tune out. Oh, it's just another addict.
No, I didn't know the reach that it has. Mm-hmm. I didn't know it could be in CBD gummies and vape and soaked in weed. And you think you're getting ecstasy or meth or cocaine, and the active ingredient is fentanyl. So even if you're feeling something and you're like, oh, this was great, that still could be fentanyl. Online pharmacies, counterfeit meds. I didn't know any of this. And so I think that'll help people understand, because I also thought it was just like, if someone's using fentanyl, it's obvious. They're like San Francisco tents and things like that, but it can be everywhere.
So it was about 2 months ago up in Tahoe, 4 people were found dead and their cocaine was laced with fentanyl. And they didn't have a tolerance for fentanyl, so they all died. All 4 of them died.
Dang.
In their 30s.
That's tragic. I still can't get over that. 100,000 people are overdosing. Man, I bet a huge percentage of that are what you would call poisonings, accidental overdoses.
Indeed.
You feel like, putting on the tinfoil hat a little bit, you feel like there's a bigger
picture
plan with this? Like this is some sort of infiltration or trying to kill off Americans or get people hooked? Like, do you have any theories?
I know there's different departments that look into some of these deaths, and it could be anywhere from domestic terrorism. I work with several officers, and some of them are part of the task force that I get to hear the behind the scenes. Of course, I can't share it with the youth or, many people, but there are people that will buy these fentanyl pills or fentanyl and try to kill another person through food. We actually have a couple of those cases here locally. Put it in people's drinks and beverages. I had a mom come out and her 25-year-old son had a Jamba Juice looking, and somebody put fentanyl and he died. There's so many different ways to look at this. Again, I'm that realist. This is happening. Why is a good start. But that's why you can't prosecute your way out of this problem or enforce your way out of it. You have to educate your way through.
Awareness.
It's awareness.
Okay.
I mean, 3 years ago, fentanyl wasn't being found in marijuana.
Yeah.
No vapes, no gummies. And now it's everywhere.
And vapes as in like you can go into
cartridges,
a gas station and buy it?
No, we're talking black market.
Okay.
Black market weed, if you're buying it off the street. And that's why it's so important for youth, because you have to be 21 to buy a vape pen or marijuana, Yeah. Although it is legal. So that's where the black market comes in, or buying online.
Okay. Well, you have plenty of motivation to keep going on this. Yeah. This is a problem. Mm-hmm. So I didn't know the intricacies of it. What else is your nonprofit going to focus on after, what was the...
Mental mastery.
Mental mastery, yes.
That's the next big thing.
Do you have a plan to expand even further?
I don't know. I'm already starting to write the next chapter in my life. Mm-hmm. One day I'm going to flip to it. I know, but I need something to be on the pages when I turn the page. I need those words written. So I've started really focusing on just getting out there, doing more public speaking, this is a great platform to be on, to share my story, because I've never been comfortable sharing that. There is no fear when the message to serve is there.
The intention to serve, mm-hmm. The message. Yeah, I like that. What are your spiritual beliefs? How do they tie into this?
I went to a Christian school from elementary, middle school, high school, college.
Cool.
All the way through.
That's awesome.
Yeah, my faith is truly what has solely gotten me through the worst days of my life.
And even when things are horrible, you lean on your faith and say, there has to be a plan for this. Good.
Has to be. Mm-hmm. What's good about this? What's good about this is I do believe the words that I will never leave you nor forsake you. We live in an awful fallen world. So there's a lot of hope knowing that, God has already won. And that's where I draw a lot of strength from. Just that relationship.
Do you ever feel like there's communication from him in some form? Like a knowing or signs? I ask everybody this, and the answers are always different.
Yeah.
Really fascinating.
I fully believe in when I feel like God's leading me in a different direction or having me pursue something. It's a peace that passes all understanding. You do not understand why this is happening, but I have such peace about it.
So it's good. Mm-hmm. So you're using your intuition to go a certain way, and then the feeling of peace to understand that this is the correct way.
Mm-hmm. And trust me, the moment we make God, when we can figure him out, is the moment we've made him too small.
Yeah.
So I'm always looking to expand and to see what else.
I really like that. Do you have any input for people that are feeling driven to start a nonprofit but don't know where to start? Like where do you start? Say you're like, I want to do fentanyl awareness. I don't know what that looks like. What is the first step to start a nonprofit?
Don't do it. No.
Don't do it?
No. No, you know what? This is brash, but nonprofits, you literally have to, forgive me, whore yourself out to get grants and funding, and it's difficult. And you agree to a slashed budget with twice the amount of work, and it's, well, this is how much we think you're worth, and it's grueling. But don't ever let that passion, if you want to start a nonprofit, go for it. Don't ever let your passion die.
So you would need a very strong why to get through all of those hurdles, and you got one. So if somebody's feeling that, go for it. Okay.
Yeah.